Right, good afternoon, everybody. We are pioneers in the development of a technology called frozen dough in India. This is the process of making bread up to a certain stage, stopping the process over there by freezing it very rapidly, packaging it into cases and shipping it across the country. This allows restaurants to, especially the QSR chain, to deploy rapidly around the country, open up in remote areas, and bake out a similar product fresh for you every time you order it. We started with a small 600 square yard factory that is now close to 4 acres. 10 years ago and today, the food business is a very different place. It was easier to enter 10 years ago because regulation wasn't there. You could get away with a lot more. Today, the compliance is much stronger in this industry. You have to walk with your lawyer on one side, you have to walk with your technologist on one side, you have to know the rules and regulations. This is something good, and it's happened in the last 2 years, and this is something one entrepreneur in this business has to keep in mind. It's no longer a garage operation and you can sell out of a garage and make your product. New technologies have emerged and most importantly, your consumers are so well traveled now, they can make out the difference between your product and what is globally available. And this is in an instant, and that's all it takes. So you have to make sure you understand the product, what the nature of this product is, what your customer is expecting, and not put an experiment out there to them. Food processing industry is no longer a cottage industry. I was talking about a garage kitchen. Many people in this business in India, some of the great sauce companies and biscuit companies started out in somebody's kitchen, in somebody's garage. Unfortunately, that is no longer possible with all the regulation and how the systems work. You can't really start cooking out of a garage, bottling it, putting it in a supermarket and expecting it to sell or to even pass any compliance. So the first thing I would do, this is the process that I would follow, and I've tried to follow a particular order, but you can jump the queue or jump the line in many cases. One is develop your concept USP in the market space. Mistakes I made, asking my friends and family, they didn't have the heart to tell me the product was really bad. So no, don't do that. You have to really go out there and get factual and take criticism positively over there. People, you're not going to do it on your own. You're just not going to do it on your own. And there is enough talent out there. You have to figure out how to rope them in, how to get them into your system, how to delegate responsibilities to them, get them for particular skill sets at different times as you progress. This to me has been my single most important step. It took me a long time, and I think I've developed a very good team who've got their jobs cut out for them. Each one knows exactly what they're doing, and it allows me to take time out of the office and do the things I like to do even a lot. This is the other thing. Ensure you establish a budget, multiply it by 2 because you're going to get it wrong, and then look at OPM. That is other people's money, because you cannot fund it on your own. You're going to need your money later down the line. And in this business, be prepared to dilute substantially. We don't get valuations like Google or Facebook, etc. You have to be realistic in this business. It's still not tech sexy, as people call it. So be prepared, and that's one of the stumbling blocks I've seen when I discuss with many companies. None of them are willing to dilute substantially when they start with. Everybody talks about diluting 10 or 12%. That kind of money is not going to get you anywhere with the valuations that this industry commands. It's a long, slow period. So this is a mind block that every entrepreneur in this. Evaluate what code this product falls in. What's the taxation category? Very complex out there. You go in there with a certain pricing, you start selling, and 7 days later the guy comes and says, sorry, excise, sorry, this tax rate, sorry, you did this wrong, and your maths is all out of the window. Develop packaging. Very, very important in India, extremely important in India. Nothing exists out there, especially if you're coming for a new product. You have to develop from scratch. You call the guy, he'll come with large rolls of plastic and say, what do you want me to do? This is literally how it sometimes starts. You have to understand your supply chain, understand how many times it's going to be thrown from what height. Even though you write fragile, handled with care, glass, how many times is the truck guy going to throw it? Develop your packaging accordingly. Protect your product from theft and plagiarism. One of the biggest things you'll find is employees disloyal to you, photographing, USBing, and taking recipes out trying to start something on their own or giving it to somebody who's paying them. Exists in this business like how? Then you have to evaluate your packaging, supply chain, client, and costs. You might come out with a product, it's great, and you come there and the client says, oh, but I have it at half the price in this format and you didn't take this into account. Identify your machinery you're going to make this product on. Very important. Evaluate the process and the workings of the machinery. You get this machinery, you've identified it, you put it in over there, and suddenly you see it's a flat pin and not a 3-pin or something that is not interchangeable. Or you forgot you had all the dimensions in inches and they had it in mm and the two things don't match up. Very, very important. Develop a raw material source. Without this, your product is not happening in our business. You cannot just buy flour from any vendor or sugar from any vendor or chocolate from any vendor. Each thing behaves differently. You have to develop this source. And then you go out and develop an alternative, because if this guy thinks you're the only one, your price is not going to last too long. Conduct multiple small batch runs to validate formulations. This also means validating costs. Determine your costs, margins, and structures. Validate against your business plan. Develop a QA and QC checklist. These are very complex checklists, very technical. What your product needs to be evaluated on before it leaves your factory, how it gets evaluated in case of a recall, how it gets evaluated for performance at the client level. Very, very important. Conduct your trials, including the market survey. Again, it comes back to no friends and family here. What is the actual feedback you're getting on your product? So that was a development of the product. That is even before you get into getting your factory going.